message has just arrived that could spell the end of his dream.
I'm at Stephenville in Newfoundland, at the Hotel Stephenville. It's Saturday, just afternoon, and outside the weather is good for the first time for me to fly through to St. John's. But I'm being held up here by bureaucrats. It's been 24 hours since I heard from Transport Canada that they had revoked my agreement to fly, and they've grounded me. They object to two things. The first objection is that I've changed the aircraft. I put a big tank on it. And the second thing is that in certain circumstances, I don't comply with the regulations of pilots allowed to cross the Atlantic from Canada. The most important of which is an IFR, an instrument flight rating. I don't have one of those. You're supposed to have one to make the flight, but you can't get one on a Microlight because we don't have enough instruments. I don't have, for example, absurdly, internal lighting in my aircraft. I have 3 torches and a small lamp attached to the dashboard, and that will do me. The question is, how do we get around that? I don't know. I'm still racking my brains, but I have to find a way.
Brian is thoroughly depressed, but a few days later his hopes rise and he heads back to the airfield. It seems the officials in French-owned Saint-Pierre, just off the Newfoundland coast, might consider allowing him to take off from there. A local pilot sympathises with Brian's plight and is flying him over for a meeting. At least he has one ally.
I'm in a tiny little Cessna aircraft, Cessna 142. I'm with a man called Al Skinner, and we're at Stephenville in fantastic weather, and we're going to head off to see if we can get to Saint-Pierre. And it's very exciting. It's the first real break.
But bureaucracy is a difficult nut to crack. There's no immediate decision, so Brian heads back to Stephenville to wait for an answer. Meanwhile, he has no choice but to follow the instructions of the Canadian authorities and adapt his Microlight according to their regulations. While modifying his flyer, he finds yet another local ally.
I spent the weekend taking out the big tank, and it's going to be transported away to a local supporter, a Dr. Terry Dennis, who's been helping me. He's an English doctor. And I have to wait now for the makings to get the aircraft back to being legal. So instead of having 416 litres on board, I'm going to have just 22 litres. With that, I'll be able to fly away, hopefully, to the Bay of Despair. And if everything works out, the French-owned island of Saint-Pierre, which is off the coast of Newfoundland. From there, I hope to begin the Atlantic flight and try and sort things out with the Canadian authorities. I just want to make absolutely sure the Canadian authorities do not confiscate those 2 tanks. They're the absolute key to me flying across the Atlantic. We're just driving off with the tanks now, just to make sure that they can't be confiscated from me and impounded and stuck somewhere. That's where we're going to hide her, in that garage.
I think it's absolutely fantastic that we've got someone like yourself who has the balls to make this courageous flight. It's one of the last greatest adventures probably left, and I'm just doing what the hell I can to support you. Being locked up more or less, in inverted commas of course, in your hotel room for now 2.5 weeks. You've met frustration, you've met stupidity, you've met arrogance, you've met all the problems of bureaucracy. And I think you're making a stand, and boy, I wish I could go with you.
As he waits for the authorities in Saint-Pierre to make up their minds, he hatches a daring escape plan. He's found another ally, which now makes 3. His 3 musketeers, he calls them. One of them has offered him this unused hangar. Here, in secret, he'll be able to refit the flyer into its original condition, monster tank and all. The Atlantic flight is once more within his grasp.
Essentially, I don't want to do anything except come in, rebuild, and then one day go. And I'll be going around about dawn. I'm not really interested in breaking the law. I'd only like to do it if there's a huge moral reason behind it, and I think there is a huge moral reason behind it now. What's happened to me was basically intrinsically unfair, and I've decided that I'm going to go for it anyway. I have in fact put the aircraft back again into its state to be able to fly the Atlantic. Before it was legal, but it couldn't go across the Atlantic. Now it's illegal and it can go across. The only thing is I've got to take it across. It seems to me that all of my life has headed towards particular decision. I can't see any other way out with any honour at all, and honour matters quite a lot to me in this particular case. I can't see any way out at all. I'd rather take this risk, take all the risks, and risk my life, and even, if necessary, die, rather than walk away or crawl away from this one.
Brian doesn't have to wait long. The next morning, conditions are ideal.
Right. I'm in Stephenville now, and I'm just escaping in secret. And it's just 7:15. I know they've got the legal right on their side, but they've lost all moral right. And the reason why they've lost it is they admit that hundreds of aircraft leave St John's every year, light aircraft, not as light as mine, but light aircraft, and cross with tanks just as big and as illegal as mine. And they're not stopped, but I am stopped. And why am I being stopped? Because I'm so high profile.
A quick check round to see whether the coast is clear, and he's off. His escape plan is now in motion.
About 1,400 feet out over the Newfoundland countryside. Terrific countryside, not very good for landing out in, I might say. And I'm heading in quite smooth conditions, doing 65 miles an hour, which is quite good. It means I've got a following wind, a very light one. And I'm heading for Springdale. I hope to bed down there. I'm going to grab a couch for the night, and then I'm going to buy 116 American gallons. I can't remember if I took my wallet with me, so if I've got to persuade this chap that my credit's good when I get to the far end, and I hope my credit is good, and then I'm off. That's where I'm heading to in the distance. Nice peaceful countryside, no roads or anything like that, no houses, nobody to see me. I'm just this anonymous little Microlight minding my own business. I'm heading up, in fact, towards Glover Island and a big lake. I think I can see the lake over on my left. I have a little GPS up here, which I haven't in fact turned on. I'll just turn it on now. It'll give me an extra chance to go and look at things. Nice smooth flight. Glad to be in the air. Lovely day for flying. And of course it looked dreadful this morning because it was all foggy.
But he's still not sure if he's escaped the air authorities.
Just had a jet go straight by me. Missed me by about 150 feet, maybe 200 feet. What the heck was he doing here in this airspace? I don't know. He must have been just as shocked to see me as I was to see him, if he did see me. And if he did see me, he should be coming back. And I haven't seen him yet. But I wonder if he's going to report me. I would have guessed he would. He's going to report me as a near miss. I'd have just been a goner. He was so quickly, I didn't even have time to be frightened. I obviously couldn't get out of the way. He was going far too fast. And he can't have been sent out to look for me, because he just won't know this early in the game. Anyway, why would he have come from that direction? He'd have come from behind me or somewhere like that. Weird.
First a near miss, and now the weather's turned. Brian's desperately trying to dodge the worst of the weather, but if he can't, he'll have to make an emergency landing at Gander, in full view of the authorities.
I'm in trouble. I tried to get to Springdale and there was a fog all over the place. I'm back now over the land once more, and I'm heading for a place called Prospects. I was going to declare an emergency in Gander, in which case it's all over. But it's not. If I can land here, this is called Phoenix. I've got to land in the dark, but I've got some lights, and I can see lights in the distance, which is very hopeful for me. Dreadful bad luck. I mean, you know, I just try and I get bad luck. Admittedly, I take chances, but it's bad luck, really it is.
But bad luck is now turning to sheer desperation. He's running out of fuel in territory he doesn't know. He must either find a place to land within minutes or give himself up to the Canadian authorities at Gander.